Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are going to unpack a seriously fascinating intersection. We're looking at how ancient biblical teachings on money actually perfectly mirror modern financial psychology. And along the way, we're going to expose some incredibly prevalent modern prosperity myths. Whether you know these texts like the back of your hand or you're just really interested in the psychology of wealth, the insights we're pulling from our sources today are going to completely reframe how you look at your bank account. So let's jump right into this big question, because right now, all over television and social media, so many people are being sold a highly transactional theology. It's this framework that basically treats faith like a divine investment strategy. It blends genuine religious devotion with these incredibly high-pressure financial pitches. You've absolutely heard aggressive pitches exactly like this one. Send your seed money, unlock your financial breakthrough, or sow a $1,000 offering right now for a 100-fold return. Well, our sources reveal that this so-called prosperity gospel functions way more like a highly profitable business model than actual historical biblical truth. It essentially preys on desperation, promising these wild lottery-like returns in exchange for religious donations. To really understand the mechanics of how this works, we need to dive into Section 1, Twisted Scriptures Exposed, and the context behind the con. Let's see how specific scriptures get stripped of their historical meaning to build this machinery of manipulation. The contrast here is just staggering. Modern preachers frequently sell Malachi 3:10, the whole bring the whole tithe into the storehouse first, as this modern financial formula for personal wealth. But historically, our sources point out this was an ancient agricultural covenant. The tithe was literally grain, oil, and livestock. And that storehouse, it was a physical room in the temple used to feed the Levites, who didn't own land, and to provide for the poor. It wasn't some 21st century wealth hack, you guys. It was a localized system of community care. And we see the exact same hijacking happen with Luke 6:38. Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together. Today, that gets weaponized as a seed faith transaction for cold, hard cash. But if you just read the context around it, Jesus wasn't teaching a financial formula at all. He was talking about showing mercy, giving grace, and not judging others. The whole principle is about how we treat people, not how we fund a massive broadcasting empire. So what happens when people start actually asking questions about these financial practices? Well, when corrupt leaders face any real accountability, they almost always weaponize this exact quote from Psalm 105:15. Touch not mine anointed. It's used as this ultimate immunity shield against audits or legitimate criticism. But the sources remind us that this verse originally referred to God protecting nomadic patriarchs, think Abraham and Isaac, from literal physical violence by hostile pagan kings. It was absolutely never meant to be a get-out-of-accountability free card for modern leaders. Which brings us to Section 2, the root of all evil, reframing money's role. If the prosperity gospel is a total distortion, what does the text actually have to say about wealth and money? The absolute most crucial point is this definition right here from 1 Timothy 6:10. People quote it all the time as money is the root of all evil. Actually, scratch that. It's a total misquote. The distinction is absolutely vital. Money itself is just a neutral tool. It's the love of money, this obsessive, unhealthy idolatry of wealth that causes people to stray from their values, and that is what brings deep spiritual emptiness and ruin. The biblical ideal really boils down to this incredibly simple concept. Money is a fantastic servant, but a terrible master. As our sources highlight, elevating money to the status of a master literally always leads to disaster. You just can't serve both. We've watched this play out in real time with the collapsed empires of companies like Enron or figures like Sam Bankman-Fried. Their epic downfalls weren't caused by the money itself, but by greed, elevating wealth above integrity until the whole foundation just completely crumbled. Let's transition over to Section 3, Getting Rich versus Staying Rich. This is where we hit that fascinating intersection where ancient wisdom perfectly mirrors the modern psychology of money. As the modern psychology of money outlines, getting rich often requires boldness, taking big risks, and moving fast. But staying rich, actually preserving that wealth, demands the exact opposite skill set. It requires profound humility, prudence, discipline, and a whole lot of time. Think about it. It's exactly why so many lottery winners or highly paid athletes go bankrupt. They totally mastered getting wealth, but completely ignored the discipline required to keep it. And isn't it just incredible how closely that modern psychological concept aligns with this ancient text? Proverbs 13:11 says, "Wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it." Fast money rarely lasts. True financial resilience isn't about those flashy overnight wins. It's actually about the quiet, steady compounding of your resources over a long period of time. This naturally leads us to section 4, the illusion of true wealth and what you don't see, because we really need to debunk society's loudest myth about what it actually means to be wealthy. $8 million. That is the massive fortune quietly amassed by a man named Ronald Read. Now, Ronald was not some hotshot Wall Street banker. He was literally a simple janitor. He lived modestly and just invested steadily in blue-chip stocks over his lifetime. No one had any idea he was wealthy because he didn't flaunt it. He proves that real wealth is very often the money you don't spend. True wealth is the unseen investments and the quiet discipline behind the scenes. Definitely not the luxury cars or the designer clothes screaming at you on your social media feed. To avoid that toxic trap of never enough, which, let's be honest, ruins so many lives, the sources outline these core habits of stewardship. First, you have to track your net worth, not just your income. You need to actively resist lifestyle inflation the second you get a raise. You've got to limit your debt because debt inherently limits your freedom. And finally, you have to define your own personal enough. It is such a powerful pushback against this endless hustle culture that constantly tells you to just keep climbing a ladder that has absolutely no finish line. Once you actually define your enough, you tap right into the truth of this quote from 1 Timothy 6:6. Godliness with contentment is great gain. Contentment is literally a superpower that money simply cannot buy. It completely frees you from the sheer exhaustion of constantly trying to prove your status to everyone around you. You just step off the hamster wheel, completely unchained from the opinions of your neighbors. So what's the whole point of all this discipline anyway? Let's look at Section 5, the ultimate financial dividend, which is buying back time. Ultimately, the absolute highest dividend of money is the freedom of time. The best return your money can possibly give you isn't a bigger house or a nicer car. It's margin. It's breathing room. It is the incredible freedom to wake up every single morning and choose exactly how you spend your days, allowing you to focus your energy on what actually matters to you. By demoting money from an idol you worship down to a tool you use, you can move through these 3 transformative steps. Step 1. You steward your resources wisely through discipline and true contentment. Step 2. You use those well-managed resources to buy back your time and create actual margin in your life. And step 3, with all that newfound freedom, you can focus on building an eternal legacy, investing in people, in causes, and in a purpose that is going to outlast you for generations. As we wrap up this explainer today, I want to leave you with one final provocative question to think about regarding your own life. Are you building for ego or for eternity? Are you spending your precious resources just for the temporary applause of other people? Or are you actively sowing your time and wealth into a lasting legacy? It's a profound question, and one that changes absolutely everything once you truly try to answer it. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope this completely reframes your perspective on what true wealth really is.